Do you believe that settlements arising from sexual harassment complaints against lawmakers or state employees should be open to the public? Why or why not?
When we get back to the Open Records Act like that, I mean, yes, it should be entitled, to be open records just for the fact whether it's happened before or ever happened in the future. Whenever they are employees of the state, working for the state, the one that is basically saying that they were sexually harassed, they have to initially file the suit that goes back on, just like some of the stuff that happened, I guess, in the state legislature, whether it was in the Senate or the House. It has to go back initially on the house of origin that it came from. They cannot go back and sue that person directly. That is why that it's a lot of times that you'll see the publicity coming out of whichever chamber that it comes out of. And then at that, it is, at that point, public record. And the thing about it is also, if you're going to do public service and be a public servant to the people, you're under a microscope all the time. So in all essence, yes, it should be. Because, if you were willing to do something like that and saying that you're serving the people, I think the people should know. They have the right to know. Who are you and what are you actually morally about?
Okay, the Oklahoma GOP platform is really plain and clear on this. And crimes that are committed, the restitution should go to the person who's paying the restitution should be the person who committed the crime. I don't believe it is a core function of government for the state of Oklahoma to be paying settlements. The flip side of that is we have victims in these settlements. And I think if the state gets in the business of opening these things up and releasing the names of victims that should have privacy, I think that's going to open up the state to even more ridiculous lawsuits. I don't believe it is the state's business to be paying these restitutions. If you think you're going to be in that position, perhaps you should take out a personal liability insurance policy so that if you get in a situation that you have to do that, teachers have to do that, not for sexual harassment, but just for other things that might occur in the school day. So I don't think it's the business of the state government to be paying those, and I think we should always protect the rights of victims. If we're not paying for those settlements, then we shouldn't have to expose a victim.
While you could say that you would maybe agree with that comment some, that's not the reality of the way that it works and the way that it is. And there's nothing, that we can do about that, because the house or whichever chamber that it happens in, they are the number one first at liability. So it has to go back on that. And while that, we would want to be able to change that or whatever else, we can't get that change, because that is the sole employer right over there, or the initial employer, where that liability has to come from. And sometimes we don't like it or anything else. And it should go back, in my opinion, even, to whether it's that representative or senator, but that's not in reality the way that it works. We can talk about theoretically all that we want, but there's a big difference between reality and theoretically.